Welcome to the Grit Podcast.
Welcome to the Grit Podcast, the podcast that motivates and encourages you to become the real man you're destined to be. Broadcasting live in the rugged Northwest, just east of the trailblazing city of Portland. So let's get locked and loaded, because it's time to get gritty with it. Here's your host and lead grit man, Jamie
Great
Worley.
timing, considering Josh was late. David was here. You were here on time.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and
Josh wasn't.
Josh was not here on time.
Josh was not here on time.
I don't know what's going on, but
You know, I
don't know what's
started
going on
being
with you,
friends
but-
with this guy that told me the people that are late are the most successful, and then all of a sudden my life just fell apart from that point on.
that is not what you told me when
That's
we
what you
first
told
met.
me.
I was late, and you
I
said, "Thanks for honoring my time."
Yeah, no.
Yeah, what was that
it's,
about? Is that
the
well,
first
it's
time you
actually
guys
written in
met?
a book. Robert Kiyosaki and Donald Trump wrote a book. It was called
The Art of
Why
War.
We Want You to Be Rich.
Yeah.
And it was actually written in there. He said you should consider everybody's time as $500 for every 15 minutes.
Wow.
Then you know what? If you start treating people's time like that,
Well, does Donald Trump and
Kiyosaki.
Kawasaki?
Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah. Do they really want us to be rich, Josh?
Yeah, they do.
Why?
Oh, yeah, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
You
Oh, yeah, that's a great book.
you
Robert
don't
Kiyosaki.
understand how bad they want it to you to be successful.
What do they get?
It
out of
helps.
this?
It helps everybody. It's beneficial to everybody by everybody having money.
Well, but don't you think more of a socialist society would be
Sweet.
a better
I know
fit
you're
for
going.
everyone?
I'm not going to play this game with you.
What?
We're not going into that.
I actually saw a video the other day. Okay, guy standing out there with his sign saying that he should be making the same amount as an executive because of his college degree.
Yeah.
But he works at Burger King. But he wants to work at Burger King and make the same amount as an executive. And he wanted people to tell him why he can't.
Yeah. It was, his degree was like environmental science.
Did you-
or something
you saw
like,
it?
I saw
Yeah,
that.
it's a 10-minute conversation. That don't take very long.
I don't want to waste my 10 minutes.
Hey, there you go. That's a good
I know.
point.
Jeez. Oh, jeez. All right. Well, today we're going to be talking about time. I think we're going to title this The Time Travelers, because that's what we are. If you'd like to know what happens in the future, this is the right podcast for you. But we're going to be talking about time and our perception of time, and why does that really matter? Why do you guys think it matters how we view the time that we have, let's say, today? What does it matter?
I don't know. I like what you said earlier. We're never living in the present because what I just said is already in the past.
That's right.
I like that.
There is no present. There is no real present. Everything I literally just said is now in the past.
So you're either in the future
I
or in
know.
the past. You can never live in the present.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Man.
Literally everything you just said is now in the past.
I never put that in perspective like that.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Everything is in either the future or the past. The only present moment, think about just how quick and how short the present moment is. When people tell you to live in the present, that's really not a wise thing, is it? We either live in the past or we live in the future, or a combination of both. I would argue that we live in a combination of both, because we're always mindful of things that have already happened, but we're also hopeful of things that are yet to come, right? And so everything that we say and do, there's a calculation that occurs in our subconscious or conscious, either way, probably both, where we're calculating what to do next. Our whole life is a series of what do I do now? Depending on what just happened, what may happen, what is happening. Like, what do we do now? What do we say now? What do we not say now? And so it seems to me, and the reason why I want to talk to you two gentlemen is you guys are experts at time.
Right.
Well, you like you said, live in the present. No, what you got to do is be present.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's
I like
good.
that.
Yeah.
Being present.
All right. Let's put him on the spot. What the heck does that mean?
Well, I tell you a little story. You guys have heard the story, but they haven't.
Yeah.
I used to work 70, 80, 90, 100 hours a week. And I thought what I was doing is providing for my family. And there was a day where I was at a campground with my wife and my two boys. And my older boy was probably 12 at the time. And he just popped out of nowhere. I effing hate the place I was working for. And I'm like, what? He says, you're never at my games. You never come to my school. You're never there at night when we're having dinner.
Yeah.
I quit my job the next day. People said, well, how could you quit your job? I said, how could I not be there for my boy?
Ah, that's so important right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it took years up until the point where he said that. I thought everything I was doing was right.
Well, I think that's what we try to do because we're trying to do what's right. You know, when we constantly think of that, and you lose perspective of time because
Yeah.
you're trying to do what you think or what any father, dad, or spouse would think.
Be a
they're trying to do.
provider.
Exactly.
You know, you got to be a provider, but you also got to be there. You also got to be present.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a good transition to let's go back to when we were younger. You know, he was younger at that time that he said that. Let's go back to the point to where we were younger, and I'm not talking about childhood. I'm talking about more, you know, teenage years where, you know, we're full of piss and vinegar and we're just flying off the handles. And I know that's true for you two, for a fact. I've heard the stories. I've read the stories. I've heard. Oh man, I've heard from you, especially your friends on a Sunday night who ran with you back in the day. And but how did you guys view time when you were a teenager, early 20s, when you were just running and gunning? Were you even aware of time? Like, how did you view it back then? Was it even something you thought about?
I think it was like you're always looking. Well, I personally, me and
Yeah.
that group of people you're talking about were
Yeah.
never worried about what was going on at the moment and what was behind us. It was everything that was coming up that we were planning on getting
Yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah,
So we looked at it.
yeah.
I think that I was a little bit beyond my years back then.
Hold on, David. I'm sorry. I think Josh has a phone call.
I don't have no phone calls.
Oh, your phone's buzzing right here on the
I
podcast.
can't-
and I'm going to expose every bit of
That's
it.
fine. I don't talk to him. We'll put it on the carpet so it doesn't affect you.
You know,
I'm so sorry for the interruption, David. Go ahead.
no, I think that,
What are friends for?
You love this.
I was already planning my life out at 16, you know, going to get married, going to buy a house, you know, have kid and, you know,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So for me, my mentality was not like the party. I was not the party guy. I was
Yeah.
not the, you know, I had a full-time job and, you know, I had someone I was engaged to at 16 years old. We bought our first house when, you know, she turned 18, I turned 19. So there's responsibility. There's a lot of responsibility there.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it's your experiences in that set you at a point at that time to be very like diligent about what everything was.
It was just,
And that's
if I make this decision, which direction is it going to go?
And it's funny is like, so when I got out of high school at 18 years old, I went in the military,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like I was only worried about what time is it because we're going to get off here in a couple of hours and we're going to go party.
Yep.
And I lived for 4 years of that. Like that's all you do, and that it's just it's interesting. I met my wife during that time, but then it's one of those things where and she was like, hold on
Yeah.
here,
Pulling you back.
and then you start to kind of slowly slide into that. But no, I
we
envy
literally-
people that have been that focused and driven from that point in time because I potentially feel that at this point now I look back on my life and I go, did I waste it? But it made me who I am. So I don't regret any decision I've ever made.
Good.
Well, what if we don't like who you are now?
Well, you know, it's funny you say that because I really don't care.
I know.
That's the life I live
I
now.
know.
I have not been in that position yet.
If you don't like me, I really don't care. I don't know. I've never cared what.
There's a common theme between the three of us, and it's fearless.
Oh yeah.
Fearless, because I think we're either wired that way or we're at a point in our lives right now where I don't care.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, I could
know.
say that there was a point in my life, like when I was younger, when I first got out of the military and started a career that I had, and I was going in, I was really destined to be successful. I was like, I screwed off for long enough, and now it's time to like, okay, we're gonna get serious now. It's time to grow up and get somewhere. And I did your point of making goals and setting, like I started setting my life up. Like I knew after I got out of the military, I was like, 1 year from today, I will have a house. And I told my wife, she's like, I don't want to live in an apartment in 1 year, we'll have a house. And 1 year and 1 month to the day, we had a house. And it was but you start having those goals at that
goals are
point.
very important.
At my mentality at my age, I had nothing to be, it didn't matter. Like in the military at the time for me, it was like, okay, well, what do you got to do to be successful? Well, okay, you got to be in shape. So you make sure you're doing all the things that you're going to be push you ahead in that. Like, okay, I need to get promoted faster. Well, just show me the sheet that I need to fill out to hit that.
Get that next step.
And that stuff's all done. And we're moving on to the next thing to get to the most, because I want to make more money. You don't make no money in the military. So it's like, how do you get it? Well, you got to have a higher rank. Okay, well, just show me the list of stuff I got to do to get there. And you just work your way through it. But at the same time, you can party it.
I think a lot of people call that climbing the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
But I've never seen it as a ladder. I've seen it as a stairway
Yeah.
with many different experiences along the way.
Oh, totally.
And for every step that you take, you have learned so much more.
Oh, my dad used to tell me think of your life as a quiver of arrows, and everything you find, whether negative or positive, is an arrow you're going to put in your quiver.
Okay.
And you're going to have that to be able to progress all the time. So you're going to run into a situation. I got one for that. Whoop,
I like that.
We got something to do. And I was like, and so I teach my son that now. And so every time he's dealing with this situation right now, and he's like, I can't stand this. I'm like, dude, hold on. You're filling the quiver. Relax. It's okay.
And we fill those quivers with some bad arrows sometimes. But here's the thing, the important thing, and I don't think this is hammered home enough with younger people, you got to shoot those arrows.
Oh,
You got to get rid of them.
Take advantage of them.
Yeah, if you just store up
Totally.
the bad arrows in your quiver and you never fire them, then you've got a quiver full of failures. You got a quiver full of mistakes that are ready to happen. You might as well just pull the trigger, make the mistakes, because that's part of progressing to end up, like you said, it made you who you are.
Oh, totally.
It's not our successes that really shape us the most, right?
Oh, it's your failures.
Yeah, by far.
It's a quiver full of what ifs.
Oh, yeah.
And what I tell you about what ifs, what ifs come from Satan.
It's a good one.
That is good.
I like that.
Well, when you guys were young, I don't know about you, but my view of time was I did not view time. I viewed pleasure. And what was right in front of me, that's what I'm doing. And it didn't matter if I
Really?
wanted to do it.
Really?
Where are we going here?
Well, there was a
He always does this.
we were
I'm
doing
just
some
kidding.
dance party or something with some.
I'm waiting for you to talk about somebody falling up the stairs. Or I'm just kidding.
I've seen that happen.
Anyway, sorry. I couldn't help myself.
I think being young, and I'm talking not even teens. I'm thinking 6 to 12, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
In the summertime, it's light from morning
Yep.
till night. I mean, I remember when you were supposed to come home, your mom would go on the porch and just yell, "David,
Yeah.
dinner!"
Yes.
But we'd be out playing. I don't know. You guys ever play sock tag when you were younger? Sock tag or running through people's yards. I mean, you do that today,
yeah.
you're probably gonna get shot, right?
Yeah, probably.
But there was no concept of time.
No.
No.
No, it was just the whole focus was, what are we doing right now? What are we doing right now? And oh shoot, I've got to get home. The street lights have come on. And so it was always but as we got older and we got into our 20s and we had to hold jobs and we had to get to jobs on time, it wasn't until those constructs were in place of required responsibility or else I didn't become aware of time and what it meant or whether I was wasting it or not. It was never a thought to me. The only concept of time I had was, what time do I have to be at Foot Action and Foot Locker? Because I was managing clothing
one of them
stores.
referee shirts.
I actually managed Foot Action and Foot Locker in the same mall at the same time, which you're not supposed to do that like that. So one store was upstairs, one was downstairs. But I knew very clearly what time I had to be at work. I had to be showered. I had what I had to wear. And it wasn't until those responsibilities were added that time began to not slow down, but it began to almost become
relevant.
organized in my
Relevant,
life. Yeah.
Do you think we have a society of, I'm trying to choose my words wisely here,
Yeah.
because 3 of us had jobs or military or something in our teens, right? And we had responsibility in our teens. And there's a lot of younger people right now that are still living at home. They don't have jobs. They haven't had that. And that responsibility hasn't kicked in yet.
Yeah.
Well, I think some of it, they've taken stuff away. I know when I was 13 years old, my dad's like, "Hey, listen, I just got you a job for the summer." And I'm like, "Oh, shoot. Okay. Well, what am I going to be doing?" "Oh, you're working at the little convenience store gas station down the road for the summer." I'm like, "Oh, wow." Well, now I go to the gas station and they're like, "Oh, yeah, you can't pump gas unless you're 18 years old." I'm like, "Huh?"
Yeah.
So they've created a situation for these kids it to be harder for them to even engage in society.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you. Even in my restaurants, you have to be 16 because of the slicers and the, the flat tops and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
But I mean, it's a friend of mine, and you know of him. He always told me, he's like, think of back in the pioneer days. Every person had a pocket knife. Mm-hmm. It was part of life. Did you ever hear of people like cutting fingers off or all these injuries all the time?
It's a tool, and they know how to use it.
Exactly. So we've taken that out of that. So have we done that to society by not giving them these tools that they have to deal with every day on a basis?
Yeah.
No, you've taken the tool out of their hands. So now you aren't even educated to a point of understanding what work is at a younger age, at what is the danger of having that slicer or whatever it is that's in front of you, because you're not around.
You
it
don't
till
have the
you're older.
opportunity.
And then you have experiences that are different at that older age that potentially run you into a situation where you don't either respect it or whatever to even get into that point. It just
when I was growing up, I was 9 when Nintendo came out, and the Nintendo games were equivalent of $90 today.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's what in today's money it would have been $90. I remember I wanted Metroid.
Oh yeah.
And my mom says, well, go get a job and buy it. Well, I'm 9, right?
Yeah.
Well, on our property, we had filbert tree, a walnut tree, a pear tree, a plum tree. Okay. And I got these little 2-pound bags, and I filled them with each one 2 pounds. And I had a little red wagon, and I went door to door selling them. And the old ladies were just, this is cool, blah, blah, blah. And I was making money because I had no overhead.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And I remember looking in this lady's house, and she had some bags of cans. And I said, what are you doing with all those? And she goes, do you want them? And I said, I'll take them. So now it turned into selling this stuff, but grabbing cans. And then it was newspaper. So my dad had his Suburban, and I was like, okay, mark this address down. We got to go pick up their newspaper. Mm-hmm. You know how much I made?
You're making good money.
A ton of money. Yeah. I was 9.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I remember taking my wagon and sitting in front of a garage sale once.
So okay, I got a question for you. So your father, how do you feel he either encouraged or thought of what you were doing?
Okay, so I didn't meet my father till I was 15.
Okay.
But my stepfather, who was basically my father, he knew. He saw something in me. He told me, you are the only you're the only kid I know that can sell ice to Eskimos. And he just loved it. He just said, go do it,
So there's encouragement there.
Absolutely.
And see, I think, and I can only speak for myself in this situation, but I see some parents not be looking for those things in kids.
I agree.
In my life, my dad works so hard. My mom's the hardest working people I know were my parents. And their philosophy was go work.
Yeah.
And my grandfather, who was a very successful businessman, owned a machine shop, did other stuff on that, was more of an entrepreneurial side. But his spouse was like, well, caution on how far you take that style. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people miss opportunities in their lives because
they didn't take that risk.
They didn't. Mm-hmm. I have a friend of mine who's like, dude, if you don't throw it all in, you're missing the boat. You have to go all in on everything. You see something, go.
It's something that I learned late in life, probably in the last few years, maybe 5-6 years, when the Gresham Outlook did a story on Dana, my wife, and it even came up in the podcast. Yeah. They interviewed us separately, and one of the questions was, why Dana or why David? And when they said to me why Dana, I go, oh gosh, she was so beautiful, she was just gorgeous. Man, the minute she walked through that door, I was like, she's mine. But I wanted to know what Dana said, but I had to read the article, right?
Yeah.
They said, why David? And she said, because he had a sense of direction and he knew where he wanted to go. And he was a stand-up guy. And I'm sitting here thinking, but I wasn't cute.
No, so that's funny because my wife and I have discussions like, we've been through some things and talked about stuff like that. And it's interesting to see that a man's first thought is what she is. Like, what do you see? Mm-hmm. And a woman's first thought is always, where are you going?
Yes.
What do you have available to, like my wife and I have communicated about this before. She's like, you were driven from like the minute I met you. You were a good time. You were fun to like hang out with. You were always happy, but you were like, you had a sense of drive.
Yeah.
And that's funny that women, and it's funny that your wife said, I feel it's a thing that's tied to them that way. Like if they don't feel
Something's wired.
she doesn't feel safe. The women don't feel like if they don't feel like they're safe and have that somebody that's next to them that's going to be, doing that type of stuff.
But then you also have the woman that just loves a bad boy. And I've never
that's why she
understood
liked
that.
me.
Well, that's probably because neither one of you have ever been a bad boy.
Yeah, here comes
like
Jamie
me.
now.
Oh, good Lord. And I can only Jamie will leave that one to you.
Yeah, right. Let me ask you guys something in the same vein. You're talking about how our wives see us, and I would agree with that. Our marriage is the same way, and how she saw me was the same way. I do have a bit of an edge to me, and but that's something you also have that you both also have. You cannot be literally a fearless man if you don't have an edge to you. I like how Jordan Peterson says you must be capable of being a monster, a very violent monster when you have to be. If you ever have to be, you must be not a monster, but you must be capable of it. Mm-hmm. I think that's very wise, and I know that all three of us are. Here's my question as far as the way our wives see us. And I know the answer for me, but I'd like to hear from you guys is, have you always known who you were going to become? Did you always have a vision of the end product of who you would become? Has it always been in your mind, even though you weren't that man yet? Or is it something that you discovered along the way, or a little bit of both? David points right to Josh.
Go ahead, Josh.
I mean, did you always know you were going to be this guy sitting in the chair?
So it's funny. And I can only reflect in my life. Last night, I was just sitting there with my mom, and I like to tease my wife. I just like constantly, and I'll joke. I just love make life fun.
It's banter.
If it ain't fun, then it ain't worth living. Mm-hmm. And so I'm teasing my wife, and she went and got the duster, and she's dusting something. It's about damn time you did something like that. And my mom comes unhinged, like she's like, "Who the hell do you think you are talking?" I'm like, she knows I'm joking, and she goes, "Josh, I know who you are," and I'm like, that right there is kind of what you're saying. I am not. She doesn't know who I am, first of all, because I love my wife more than anything, and I would never disrespect my wife, on purpose. I mean, we're gonna have some general banter and just make fun of it, but never would I expect her to do something like that. But people have conceived me, and or people see me as being very ego driven. Like, you think you're so much better than other people. Because I try I'll bring topics up. I'll say things. I'm not quiet about anything. And it's like, and I have a viewpoint, and I'll point out my viewpoint. And if I'm wrong, please bring it my way.
Explain to me why I'm wrong.
Tell me why I'm wrong. And I think you've said that at times about something. Okay, this is my viewpoint, and tell me why I'm wrong. Explain to me how I'm seeing this wrong. And so people see I have an ego. They're like, hey, dude, you just think you're always right. You always think you always have something to say about something. Well, yeah, I do.
Yeah. Well, I think I can, and I don't believe in the argument of authority, but I have a degree in psychology. I know what an ego, a super ego, and all that is. Ego gets a bad rap. Every successful man has an ego. Now, whether that ego is in check or is handled responsibly or not is irrelevant. Is completely relevant. But you look at someone like Michael Jordan, ego. Could he control it? Yep. Kobe Bryant, could he control it? Yep. Shaq, could he control it? Yep. Dennis Rodman? No.
Nope. Yeah.
Draymond Green? No.
Yeah.
And these are all guys who have they're cut from the same cloth, but one is responsible with their ego and one's not. One is a bull in a china shop. The other one is a quiet Navy SEAL or an Army Ranger who walks through the crowd, bothers no one until someone gets a hold of him, and then it's on.
And it's tactical.
It's thought out. It's responsible. It's appropriate. Yeah. I knew from an early age, I would say to about 13 years old, who I would become one day. And I can't tell you how I know that, or I always sensed it. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, and my mom was sitting there, and she made me memorize a verse out of the Bible, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. And she didn't force me in a way that was bad or anything. I just remember she said, hey, we're going to memorize this day. I memorized it. And I remember, and I'm not saying the Bible caused this or anything like that, but it was in that moment I knew somehow, some way, I knew that down the road who I would become. And, we talk about lions and stuff a lot. I knew I was going to become that kind of man. But I will say this, I had no idea what it was going to take for me to become that.
Well, and to
The
answer
pain, everything.
to answer your question, to answer the question, I guess.
But did you know?
I knew that I had potential at almost anything I set my mind to.
Same.
It doesn't even faze me. It's like I don't even think like otherwise. If I can see it and conceive it and believe it, it'll happen. And it's not even, I don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
And have I reached my full potential? No, not yet. I don't, I'm not even, I'm on my way. I think I'm constantly learning because my life, I've made huge changes in my life, so that you have to go, okay, we're going all in. Like, dude, we're going all in over here. We're done.
Burn
Change
the
away.
boats.
So now you just start building the quiver of arrows again in a whole different light of life.
Yeah.
So
I think for me, the biggest goal for me was I wanted to be a millionaire. It was never, I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have a wife. It was, and that was at early stages, when you're only thinking about yourself. But as you navigate this thing called life, there's certain things that get brought to you. There are opportunities, right? My wife, opportunity. My kids, opportunity. My careers that I've had, opportunity. And I've learned from every single one of those opportunities. And we're not done. Like you said, we're not done. The end game, I don't know what the end game is. I know that I have accomplished what I wanted to accomplish as a kid, but there's still more after that. Have I accomplished my goal of being a millionaire? Yeah, on paper. Now my next goal is I want to write myself a check for $1 million. Take a little while.
But that goal's never stopped though.
No.
So you're constantly looking to the next thing. And I think that's what people that are driven, they're going to go somewhere, or don't ever let that I made it to here. I made it to here, and then it stops. It's
you gotta keep
it's
going.
steps, like you were talking earlier about. You're just constantly climbing those staircase.
And you better be, because you're either growing or you're dying. There's no third direction. And that you, if you're not striving for something, you're going downhill.
We talked about ego a minute ago, and I want to be a millionaire. Oh, that guy's egotistical, blah blah that. No, it's why do you want it? You know what? Why? Because I want to provide for my family. I want to give back to my community. I want to give to charity. There's all these things that people, they don't see. Sometimes they see you as a business owner of multiple businesses and they go, oh, that guy this and that guy that. But what you don't see is that person's doing every single job in that business, from mopping the floors all the way to doing the finances.
But I don't think people don't understand, like what you're saying. I've seen you and heard of the things you've done in your situation, and you go, man, I want to get to that point. I want to get to that point where I can do that one thing that he did. I like that, and I look at a lot of people and you go, oh, to be able to do that, that'd be awesome. Like that's why you got there. That's why when you got there, you were able to just go, oh, you want that? Here, boom. I took care of somebody else. Wasn't my wife, wasn't my kids, wasn't this, and you just did something for someone else out of the kindness of your heart because you can, and you're like, I got to this point to be able to do that for somebody.
I appreciate that, because that feeling of buying somebody else's dinner when you're at a fancy restaurant, you go to a fancy restaurant, it's $200-$300, right?
Yeah.
But when your server comes over and goes, I want to buy theirs too, or when you leave your server $100, right? That is worth more to me than any dollar I can ever have in my pocket.
Oh, it feels so good. It's funny you say that dinner thing. I took my kids, and my wife was out, and we were sitting at Black Bear Diner in Gresham, and we're sitting there, and this older couple sitting behind it, and I was like, we'll take theirs. And my son looks at me and he goes, why? I go, because Caleb, we're sitting here right now. I don't care if they could probably afford that meal. I don't care. I was overhearing conversation. We're going to do it. I'm going to do it. And she brought the thing over and we just paid for the dinners, and they got up to leave, and they're like, and she goes, oh no, it's already been taken care of. And I agree with you. It feels there's nothing you can do for me as much as me being able to do for someone else. And in that instance, that moment, you're like, oh, it feels so good.
We were at Bocelli's not too long ago. Sorry, and there was a gal probably in her 70s walks in, sits down, has her glass of wine, has her plate of food and all that stuff. And Dana and I are just looking at her, and we're just like, oh, this is so cute, right?
Yeah.
Server comes over, and I said, we'd like to pay for her dinner. Mm-hmm. The server broke down. She says she just lost her husband 6 weeks ago.
Wow.
And she comes in here the same night. They would come in here the same night every week together.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Right.
Dude,
Jeez.
oh,
Why
yeah.
you got to do that on the podcast, bro?
Because you got Kleenex. Got to put that to use.
Here, David.
No,
This for later.
No, it's awesome. It does. It's amazing. But see, you didn't do it because you knew that.
No.
And that's the cool thing about it is what you do it just because you're like, hey, go for it. We're good. I got it.
Yeah.
And that's where it meant more to the server and to you and your wife. And it's like it was those moments are meant to be.
Yeah.
They are.
They are.
And you're right. I mean, I don't think there's any better feeling than to do something like that, especially when you don't know the backstory. For me personally, I know it's the same for you guys as well. When you feel like the Lord is leading you to do something, you may not know the details, but you just know that that's something you should do. You don't know why. You don't need to know why, do we? No, because He knows. And so when we do things like that, there is no greater feeling. There just isn't. But I would also say on the flip side of that, and this is where my wife and I would sit for so many years, and thank God we're able to do what you guys are talking about doing now. There was no worse feeling than wanting to do it, but not having the resources to do it. To not be able to pay for somebody's meal or pay their rent for a month or doing something like that. For years, we could barely afford to eat Chick-fil-A or wherever we were. That was like a real treat. You know, that was our Bocelli's was Taco Bell, off the dollar menu and stuff. But
It's about getting places like that. It's not. You've lived at times in your life where you couldn't have done it.
No.
right.
But
No.
and we all
I
have
couldn't
been
even,
at that
there
point.
was times when I couldn't do it for my own family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But the moment that you can,
Oh,
and you
it's
make
great.
that choice, it's like, we're good.
Yeah.
But I think we're talking about time. So
Time.
We haven't been talking about time since, well,
I'll start-
let's check our watches.
Well,
since I was late.
There's one of those things that I always looked at in time, and I'll put it in perspective. You have different phases in life, and I think I've said this a few times. Mm-hmm. You're a kid. You think nothing about yourself and your friends, right?
Yeah.
And then you start going to school, and you think about these goals and having to get good grades and all that stuff, right?
Yep.
You get into high school, you graduate, and you either go off to college or you start a family or a career. Those friends and stuff that you built up, you don't really see as much anymore, right? Because you're not there day to day. But then you start to come back around because all of a sudden you get weddings. So now everybody's going to a wedding. That's a milestone, right? And then all of a sudden people are getting pregnant. So now you're doing baby showers, right? And then you kind of do barbecues and stuff, and then all of a sudden people start getting divorced. And then those people come back in your lives again because they want a shoulder to cry on or something like that, right? And then they may get remarried. And it's those things through life that just keep taking you in a different level. And it's not a financial level, it's not a work level, it's a personal experience level.
Yeah.
And you got to think sometimes, what phase are you in, right?
Well, and the next thing you know, 15 years has passed. And I still remember the day I was washing my very first vehicle ever, 1988 Ford Ranger Edge, charcoal gray with roll bars and lights, jacked up wheels. I still remember that. It was like yesterday. I was washing my brand new truck. And I look around, I'm 51 now. Like that was like yesterday. Mm-hmm. All the experiences I've ever been through that were really traumatic and also really good, I look back, and David and I were talking about this while we were waiting on you to get here. They're like blips on the map.
Yeah.
They're like just blips like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I went through that. Did I really? No, I did go through that. How come it's with me, but it's not present.
They're memories.
I'm not completely aware of everything I felt during those seasons, but man, that is something that I went through, and it shaped me to who I am today. But man, isn't it interesting how the most traumatic things in life, we typically remember two things in life: the really, really good times and the what?
Really
Really
bad.
bad
the
times.
really bad times. Everything in between, it's in there somewhere in the old filing cabinet. But we don't really think about that. It's in our subconscious or in our unconscious. I mean, we don't.
Have you ever
we don't really
noticed that
know.
there's always something that, like a smell, like a certain smell, and you're like, oh my gosh, that brings me back to this.
Yep.
Or, you know, seeing somebody on Facebook and like, oh gosh, I remember this and that. It unlocks those.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. Well, smell is the most powerful of the senses that brings back vivid memories. Smell is, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I don't know, but I know that. What I do know is that, like when I was telling David before while we were waiting on you. Did I say that already?
No, that was the first time. First time I've heard that one.
That'd be the last time I get you.
No.
I'm just messing with you.
It's okay.
When I was sitting in prison, time just crawled by, and I was just suffering mentally. I was in solitary confinement for 4 months. I'm just sitting there going, and for no good reason either. And time just crawled. It was living hell. And then I turn around, and 2 months had passed, just like that. How was time so slow? And then all of a sudden it picked up, and the next thing you know, it's been 2.5 years and I'm coming home. Like, how did that happen? How can time be so slow at times, then fly by at other times?
You're trying to live in it at certain points. Like you're sitting there every day going, oh my, I'm sitting here in solitary. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
poor me.
And what was I lacking in that time? What was I lacking in that time?
Your own personal drive.
Yeah, because I had no hope.
Well,
I had no purpose. I had no place I would be going. I had no goals. What is your goal sitting inside? Like, what is your goal exactly?
Well, okay, so you this is interesting because there was a gentleman I was watching a podcast, and there was this other guy. He had been in prison in another country.
Yeah.
And he was like, every day he would get and just push up, and he knew he was watching him. He had the camera on him. They're watching him, and he just push up, and he just stand and look out at the door at the guard. And every once in a while, the guard knew. He'd turn around. And he's like, "Quit looking at me!" And he'd walk back, and he'd get down, and he'd just start, and he's like, "I'm never going to let him see me suffer.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give him." And that's that mental strength
Yes.
that he had. He's like, "I don't care. I'm not. No one will break me.
Yeah.
No one will. I'm not going to give anyone the joy of having power over me."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Dude, that's what I'm talking about."
How
That's,
arrogant and egotistical of you.
well, no, but see, that's the thing. I'll own something like that
No,
because
no,
I
no.
don't. I will
My-
never. I
yeah.
feel the same way at times. It's
My
like
point, though, is that ego, if that ego was not there, you would have wilted and folded like a cheap chair
Totally.
right there in that
But
cell.
then time goes like this: click,
Yep. It goes slow, slow,
Click.
slow, slow.
Yep.
click. But for him, it's just sitting there. He's just waking up every day, just going, "Oh boy, we're going to make him suffer today,"
Yep.
because I'm not going to take the pain because he knew he was in there wrongfully.
Yeah.
So it's
My thought is, we're in this stage of our life where we've built careers or we've built our business, what we've done, right? Mm-hmm. And then at what point in time do we say, okay, it's kind of like retirement, right? We kind of get to enjoy the fruits of those labors and stuff. I'll probably never be there, but I would have to think that time goes back to that early time in your life when you were hanging out with your friends and stuff like that. I would have to think that it slows down.
Kind of a full circle.
Yeah.
But you got to think that there's times now where, and I think you take time when you choose to spend with your friends, and you get to do that on a daily basis, and that's the beauty of where you're at now. And if you just carry that through, you never really are working. You're just living your life.
I was telling Dana the other day something I wanted to do, and it was actually like taking a job. But
I love it.
it would be literally a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't want to take it because I need money or anything like that. It's a teaching job.
Okay.
And it's a specific teaching job that is right up my alley, right?
Okay.
And she looked at me and she goes, "You're going to lose your freedom and you can't save everybody."
I agree with that.
And I just went, wow, she just put that in perspective in 1 second.
Yeah.
1 second.
So it's. I'm trying to talk about time, but you get me fired up on some thought processes that I can't. Right now, I'm working with my son, and it was the other night I was talking. You weren't there, but because you were supposedly sick. So we were having this meeting, and I brought up an issue things about my son, and I was like, he's going through something right now. I'm trying to get him. I want him to get dialed in on whatever it is. But what you said is so relevant to what I was talking with him about, is that what do you want out of your life? You know, do you want the time or the money?
Correct.
Because you only get two. You're dealing with one or the other in life. So you're going to give up one or the other along your life. Now you can create a lifestyle that's on your time and on your money sources, but that's something you have to strive to. And I think you've done a good job at that of having that, because you are able to take the time when you want to.
But you know, one of those things that I've noticed is you can work hard and you can work smart and you can make really good money, but you can have no time.
Lived it.
I've lived it too, and you've lived it. But there's something in us, and it's not in everybody, but there's something in us that says time is the most important thing in the world. It's the most expensive thing in the world. But you need to find a way that you can utilize time on your time.
Yes.
Not somebody else's time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Can I give a real life example of exactly what you just said? Yeah. As someone who owns an estate planning company, I preserve thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars to pass on to kids and grandkids. As a former pastor of over 15 years, I have also officiated countless funerals. There's an interesting dynamic between those two professions. The most important things that people will say about you will not be to your face. It'll be after you're dead. Mm-hmm. And as I'm sitting there and I'm officiating funerals, never once in 15 years as a pastor of doing funerals constantly, pretty constantly, have I ever heard someone to get up to speak about the deceased person and talk about how wonderful it was that they left them thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. I have never once heard that at a funeral or a memorial service. Never once. While preserving assets is wonderful and it should be done, I think that is a responsible thing. Not to do so is irresponsible. But to believe that that somehow will take the place of time on any level is absurd.
It is. That puts it in perspective.
It is just completely absurd. I can't believe that I just now am putting those two things together. I mean, you know it, but the longest 11 inches in the world is here to here.
Yeah.
And right here live, it just went from here to here
Yeah.
for the first time. But it just goes to show you exactly what you guys are talking about, is that you can have time or money. You can actually possess both, but you can only use one at a time, right? Is that basically what you're saying? Yeah.
To hear roll back to where my son said, I effing hate where you work.
Yeah.
I have done nothing but try to make memories since then.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I that right there is in my head when I go to make a decision sometimes.
Yeah.
What kind of, my wife says, I really want to go to the Tulip Festival. I want to go to the Tulip Festival. In my mind, I'm like, I really don't want to go to the Tulip Festival. But I said to her, yeah. So where were we yesterday?
Tulip Festival.
We were at the Tulip Festival.
Josh, you would love that.
Actually, I've been. Thank you.
Really?
Yes, actually.
It was beautiful, and they had beer. So I was good.
Oh, well, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
It's a good. It's cool. My mom's a big gardener, so
Yeah. You need to take your wife.
it's a good time. It can be fun.
A tulip festival, really, guys?
It's not like
it was actually pretty gorgeous.
It is.
I don't
It's beautiful.
know, man.
So
Tulip festival. What do you do there?
you buy tulips.
Just look at, that's it.
No, you could
Well,
look at them.
It's
Yeah. Hey, my wife was happy.
that's all that matters, right
That
there.
is
Oh, and they had wine too for her.
noted. Noted.
When you're feeling better, maybe you could take your wife.
All right, here's another. Let's just move on from the tulips that you girls or guys are talking about
Good
here.
Lord.
How does your perception of time now shape how you approach your marriage?
Wow.
I mean, I think all of us have hit pretty hard times at one point or another. I know for a fact you've had a health scare, David. I've had a pretty good health scare. I've had some things that took me away from my family for a while. And I think you've had a few things as well. With everything that we've experienced, in your perception of time as you are today, how you perceive time today, how do you approach your marriage differently than you did before you were so in tune with just how much time I would say that we have left. I don't think that we typically think about how much time we have left, but I don't know about you, but I'm at the age where I'm not thinking about how much time I have today. I think about, okay, I'm closer to my death today than I ever was before. But however you see time, how does it shape the way you treat your marriage?
My wife reminded me that I've had 12 major surgeries since I've been with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking heart surgery, stomach removal, sternum removal, intestinal removal. I mean, these are not big surgeries.
Major surgery.
You've got no guts.
I honestly don't. But, I've faced death
Yeah.
12 times. Think about this. You're getting prepped for surgery. They pull you into a room. You look over there. There's a metal sheet table. They lift you up. They put you down. They tell you to count backwards. And the first thing in your mind is, I hope I wake up. Please, Lord, let me wake up. That's all I think. I've had an amazing relationship with my wife since day one, and I still do. I don't think it changes anything in our relationship. But what I am looking forward to is we're pretty much going to be empty nesters here really soon. And I'm looking forward to dating my wife again.
Yeah.
I am. And having more time with her. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of freedom right now, though, and that really helps. We have a lot of freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. How does your perception of time, we'll go to Josh now. How does your perception of time affect the way that you raise your two kids?
I know when they were younger, when my son was younger, my life, my perception of time and what I was doing was purely providing for the family. Like you said, I mean, I was in my early 20s and 30s, and I was like, I had to do everything I could to make as much money possible to give them the best life they could have. Yeah. And I didn't think anything of it. It didn't matter to me. It was like, I know that I was doing everything I could to provide the greatest life they could have. Was I out there buying Ferraris? No. But my wife always had cars that kept her safe. She was never broke down alongside the road. The kids always had something to eat. They went on vacation whenever they wanted. It was just, we lived a fairly good life. Now, and I did it probably into the beginning of when my daughter was born. I was doing all that. And then in 2020, when everything in my life went upside down and changed, immediately I knew my time with my children, once I had it, because I went from working all the time to being home all the time with them. And when I was with them, all of a sudden for the first few months, you don't realize it. Then after a year, and you realize you're at everything for them. You're at every wrestling tournament. You're at every event. You're there with them all the time. It was like, I could never go back. So because my time with my children and what I can give to them I was missing the boat. I wasn't giving them all of me. I was providing for them, but I wasn't providing them me. I was the most important thing for them.
Was it that your life that you were living through the providing and all that's awesome? Was it when your life slowed down, you were like when the merry-go-round slowed down, you were able to kind of make?
That's kind of
was everything taking shape now that everything had slowed down?
I like that, but it was I guess that's it. It realized that the money didn't matter because it went from having lots of it to not having lots of it, and then all of a sudden it's like, did the money matter? Could I pay my bills? Yeah, bills still got paid. Yeah. Do I still have a house? Yep, haven't lost a house. Do I have all these do I have cars still to drive? It's like, well, how important was that? All that extra money? What was I doing with it? That's what I really started thinking. It's
where did it go?
Exactly. It's like, okay, it's not there now, and it's like, I have a better marriage. I have a better relationship with my kids. I have a better life. I have experienced. I have made more connections because of it. And it's like, I live a better life now than I ever lived then. And it's like, I go back and see the people that before, and they're like, I don't know how you survive. And I laugh at them because they're on the merry-go-round.
Mm-hmm. They're still there.
Reeling.
They haven't got it.
And
yet.
You're like, dude, you don't know what you're missing.
No, everything's a blur, but you're moving, you're being productive, you're doing good things. But if you're not careful and the merry-go-round's moving too quickly, your kids' lives And as they get older and older, that whole experience and watching them grow on a daily basis becomes a blur. It's like a frog boiling in water. Before you know it, you don't realize it, but the bubbles are all around you and you didn't know it.
Well, I mean,
You know, I'm the same way. I am so stupid that I need some sort of traumatic or potential traumatic event to come into my life every so often to slow my merry-go-round down. And when it does, I am a great dad. I am a great husband. But it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long for my merry-go-round to start spinning again because I'm so dang driven to do something and to accomplish this and to accomplish that. And it's probably an overcorrection of my own insecurities. I'm very well aware of that. Yeah. That's one of my downfalls is I'm constantly competing because I never feel like it's enough. It's never enough. And that is a problem in here.
It's a you problem.
It's a you problem.
It is a you problem. Thank you for pointing that out, guys. I love you too.
It's just, hey,
No,
you're
but
sitting
it
with
is.
realists here.
But unless you're David Ligatich and you were born with this gene that allows you to be, you know, and all that, I'm not a David Ligatich. I'm not good at it. I need like a bad doctor's report to slow myself down. You know what I mean?
I wasn't. There's a lot of stuff that happens in your life that shapes you.
Yep.
My thing was a double-edged sword because Dylan, he's almost 25 and Luke's 17. Yeah. You know, Dylan's playing Luke's an oops, you know, and they're so far apart that, you know, Dylan was out of the house when Luke's growing up, right?
Yeah.
And I always have that, okay, does Dylan see that I spend more time with Luke so he resents me more? Ooh. Does, you know, I always, that's always playing in my head, right? And to an extent, I'm sure there is some of that. I love him. Yeah. I love him to death. And our relationship, probably in the last 12 months, has been the best it's ever been, like ever. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of come full circle. But I always tried to treat them exactly the same? No, because I've had more time with Luke. I've been able to spend more time with Luke. But if I'm going to go fishing, I invite both.
Oh, for sure.
You know, if I'm going to go out and do something, I try and invite both. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Dylan's got his own life right now, but man, that fishing, he loves to go out fishing with us.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to take those time. People sometimes lose track of that, and they don't catch that. And then it's gone.
And
And they don't realize it. I have my own dad I watch, and it's like, dude, you don't know what you're missing right now. Mm-hmm. I may call you and I harass you and pick on you or whatever, but you don't make sure you spend time with those grandkids. You know, and it's like, dude, you don't know what you're missing, dude. You don't. Yeah.
No, I play that in my head all the time. I met my father when I was 15. And I didn't realize how much I was like him. We look the same. We talk the same. Our mannerisms are the same, even though we didn't know each other. And then at 30, something happened. I wish I knew what it was. And he said, he's a very stubborn, I see him as a very stubborn person, and I see him as a very selfish person. But he walked away from me and my family. And I think to myself, you know, would he ever be willing to reconcile? But look at what he's missed. And is he okay with what he's missed?
I think I heard a saying, it was, and I may not get this all right, but it's the family that you came from is not the family you created. Mm. So the person that there has to be separated because it's not, you can't give them that.
Yeah.
But what you're doing for the next is so much, you know, is different.
Yes.
You chose that. You know, you and Dana have chose to have a certain form of what a family is considered. And Luke and
Dylan,
your other son will perceive that as what a family is. They don't perceive.
I hope it shapes their vision of a family.
Yeah.
You know, Jamie asked me at the end of our last podcast, what's one thing you would wish upon your children? And I said that they have the exact same relationship that my wife and I have. Yeah. Not that they could be rich, not that they would. I want them to have the exact same relationship that Dana and I have.
So Luke watches you nonstop, and I can see it even when we're together. I watch him watch you. You are teaching him how a man should act to his wife, to his future wife, to how he's everything. And it's like when I spend time with my wife and my daughters, and like somebody had asked me, they're like, dude, you're always so affectionate towards your wife. I love my wife to death, and I want my daughter to understand what a man should be treating someone
Yes.
like. And if anyone treats you any other way, dude, it ain't working out.
Well, if she doesn't learn it at home, and if the kids don't learn it at home, where are they
gonna learn it?
learning it from? Movies?
YouTube.
Yeah.
Exactly.
YouTube?
TikTok?
Yeah. So it's important.
And I love the fact that Luke holds the door open for his mom. Luke holds the door open for any girls
Anybody.
he may be seeing.
Yep.
It's funny. He was driving. There was a girl over here, right, in this passenger seat. He goes to open his door. She goes to open hers. He goes, hold on. And he runs around the car and he opens the door so she can get out. And she says, what are you doing? He goes, I'm being polite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's
I opened a
that's
door
awesome.
for a lady at, I've told this story before. I opened a door for a lady at Fred Meyer. She had really short hair. It was blue. I'm not saying anything other than the facts. Opened the door for her, and she gave me a few F-bombs. I opened my own door. And so, those types of gestures are not too well received in a lot of places right now as things kind of progress. But anyway, yeah.
You know
We're
what
gonna
though?
leave that-
You know what though? That they need to be there.
You
They
still
do
do
need
it.
to be there.
I still do it.
That brings me to kind of the last leg of this is that everything that we're talking about when it comes to will the kids do this, will the kids do that, how will they view life, how will they view their own spouses or their future spouses, how do they view themselves, their own lives, etc. It really comes down to, in my opinion, one word, and that's the word value. Everybody attaches a value to every single thing and every single person we deal with. Everything that we experience, it has a value. Every task at hand has a value. Every goal has a value. And you can test this, those of you who are listening out there, you can test this by, I guarantee you, and I know that we do, we have an inner circle of friends that, well, us three are in, but then there's other guys that we really love, but they're just outside this circle. And then there's other people outside of that circle. And so let's say, well, that may be, some people say, well, that's pretty judgmental. Don't you view everyone the same? No, I don't. No, I don't. And it's my choice. I have a value on Josh and I have a value on David. And they're very high value people to me, right up there with my wife and my children. Because I value them, I treat you differently. I have a total of 4 kids. I do not treat them all the same.
No.
I love them all the same. But to treat them all the same would be some sort of familial socialism. It would be ridiculous.
Plus, they all have
I
different
think socialism is
Oh, they do.
ridiculous, but I should treat each child according to their needs, according to their talents and gifts, and according to what they deserve for whatever it is they're doing or not doing, right? But the key to all of this, I think, is teaching our kids to place a value on this or that. What is the value on politeness to all women, especially to your spouse or the girl that you're dating? Value to your friends that contribute how to your life. They make your life better or they make it worse. Well, if you make my life worse or you're constantly negative or you're constantly complaining, my value system says, I don't want to be around you. Therefore, because there's a lower value, not you intrinsically, but my value, how I see you, because it's lower, I will not spend much time with you. The time that you're talking about, I think, at least, I'd like to get your view on this, the time that we spend doing whatever it is we're doing, should they be in perfect correlation with the value we've placed on that person or what we're trying to accomplish? I'm not going to waste my time with someone who is going to bring me down, bring my family down, etc.
I want to clarify for those that are listening, we're not talking about worth.
No.
We're talking about value, because some people will see this
There's a big
conversation
difference.
as worth.
Yeah.
And I am 100% where you are right now. If I do not value you the same as I value someone else, the time that they're going to get from me is different, because my time is worth a lot. And there's that word worth versus value.
Yeah. And some people will see that statement that your time is very valuable as arrogant and egotistical.
Good.
Oh, you think your time is better than for me?
Not
Good.
He
Yeah.
didn't say better.
Well,
Didn't say better.
yeah, no, he didn't say better. You know, worth is what you're worth as a person. We're all worth immaculately, just infinitely of worth. Everybody has worth. But value is what you get out of that time with that person, not what the person themselves are worth. You know what I mean? You two pansies go to a tulip festival. Okay, it's worth it for you two guys to go to this tulip festival. For me, I place no value on this thing. Therefore, I'm not going to go.
But you know
And
how valuable that was to my wife?
hey, man, to each their own.
Yeah.
There are other
you're not-
ways.
so your wife's value is not as high as what you're saying.
No.
Her pleasure? No, that
You got to edit that
There are
out.
other.
I always make sure this.
We don't edit the grit. I mean, David, it says it right there. We don't edit the grit, David.
Value. There
But
was
the basketball game's more important. There's a higher value on that basketball game than your.
Don't judge me.
talking about teaching Luke. I had an
Judge
opportunity to speak an entrepreneurship class that's local here in Gresham.
Yeah.
And I was kind of giving Luke a little bit of props, and they said to me, if Luke ever fell on his feet again, what would you do to help him? And I said, nothing. And they looked at me and I said, nothing. And the kid said, why? I said, because I already taught him how to get back on his feet. I've already given it to him.
Yeah.
I value him.
Yeah. Too many times we rob them of the struggle and the journey of the struggle, because without it, how are they shaped?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how are they shaped? If my son ends up in a jail cell because of he makes a dumb mistake,
I'm gonna slap the piss out of him.
I'm not going to go bail him out. I'm not going to bail him out. I'm just not going to do it. And why? What will he learn?
won't learn-
What
yeah,
does
they
he
won't
walk
learn
away
anything
with
from
at that
that.
point?
No,
What does he walk away with at that point?
Yeah.
it's like you said, those struggles are where it shape you.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like my son when he went up to Alaska this last year. He came back, and I'm like, I don't know how much you could really shape him. At like, okay, you're going up there to work. You know, we work all the time, so it's like, okay, let's see how it comes back. He was shaped differently when he came back because he valued his own personal time a lot different. Like,
Because he didn't have any.
well, no, you're up there
Personal
working,
time.
but he valued like being able to sit by yourself and do something.
Yeah.
He can now sit like he could before. We all need people to be around us. People watch. I watch kids right now. I need to have a girlfriend. Like all these kids his age, 20 years old. Like I gotta have a girlfriend. I gotta have somebody with me all the time to be filling that time for me.
Yep.
And now it's like you can take that kid. He went yesterday snowboarding all by himself. Like, and he has perfectly like calm. Like don't bother me. I'm good. You know.
Yeah.
That is shaping that
Absolutely.
child. Like you can have those moments, you know, being up there and being forced to be alone and sit inside a piece of equipment and and you don't have nothing else going on, nobody to talk to, nothing else going on. It shapes you, you know.
Yeah.
And
You have to be exposed to things before you can be content with those things. I mean, you go down to the landfill. Where is it? Down in Oregon City, Wilsonville, a big old landfill down there.
Oregon City.
Yeah, Oregon City. You get there and it stinks, man. It's so bad. Oh my gosh, so bad. But after about 15 minutes, I quit smelling it.
Mm-hmm. You get used to it.
You get used to it. Yeah. I mean, in order to be content being alone, you have to experience being alone
Yeah.
to a large degree, or else it's brand new for you. You don't know what to do with it.
But I think that's with everything. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Is like
Yeah.
everything you have to experience things. Like
Exactly.
Dave was talking about the staircase of life, going up it, constantly dealing with it. It's not like you said, climbing the corporate ladder. I tease people about that. I'm like, now that I don't go to a job that I work for somebody else, it's like, climbing the corporate ladder, and they're like, oh, you're such a. But it's a staircase of life. You know, you're constantly going up that staircase. You know, you're working your way there.
Yeah.
You know, there's a big pearly gates coming at some point in your life, but where are you going?
I wish I could give everybody climbing that corporate ladder the vision that I have now. You know, seriously, it would be just like you just did.
Yeah.
It would be like, wow, that's attainable. A lot of them will never see it.
Well, and I think it can be. And I think your wife's comment to you about not teaching in that fashion, because David, I personally know you have a ton of knowledge to give to people.
Thank you.
And it's valuable like no other. And I think your desire to teach is valid, and I think you would be phenomenal at it.
Thank you.
But I think it comes at a different angle. And the other night I was talking about being able to identify these kids and go pluck
Yeah.
over here, pluck over here, and I think there's. Oh, I'm gonna get off track. I'm sorry. This is a whole different podcast, guys. Sorry.
We
Anyway,
got 2 for 1 in this one.
We'll talk.
Hey, take your time.
No, we need to.
Don't be late.
Oh, that won't. No, I say ever, but
You're never going to live that down.
I won't ever live it down. I won't ever live that one down again. Anyway,
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, this was fun.
Yeah, this is good.
We could talk forever.
oh, man.
Yeah. One last question, and we'll end it with this. For all the young guys out there, I was actually driving down the street in Gresham down Division, and a couple of high school buses went by. Did you see my post?
No, I don't.
Okay, you didn't see my Facebook post?
No, you,
You
got
don't
rid of
follow me?
Facebook on your phone. Remember?
2 busloads of guys. There were several boys, young men from Gresham High School, I would only imagine. That's
Okay.
kind of that area. Screamed out 2 different buses, "When's your next video? When's your next video?"
That's cool.
That was so cool.
That was
so
cool.
We're reaching these young guys. So let me put it to you this way. For all you guys who are on the bus and yelling at me, hey, I see you, I hear you, here's the next video. This question is just for you guys. What advice would you give young men in high school, like those guys yelling out on the bus? How should they consciously take the time to see the time that they have right now as young men? Because I made a ton of mistakes the way I viewed time back then. I didn't even acknowledge it. Okay, I think we all kind of shared that a little bit. What advice would you give these young men on how to say, wait a minute, I want you to stop for a second, look at where you are, look at where you're going. How should they value the time? I'm going to start with David, because you started valuing time around the age of 15 or 16, maybe even 9 years old. Good grief, Doogie Howser. What's going on there, David? What would you tell these guys?
Quit wasting your time on TikTok, Instagram, all that junk, and spend some time with guys like us.
Amen.
Learn from us. And we're more than willing. We're more than willing to take an hour out of our day, 2 hours out of our day to mentor you. The second one is, it's not all about money, 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 money. The money will come. If that's your goal, the money will come. God will provide.
Don't lose that.
Don't lose that. But slow down. Smell the roses. Smell whatever you want. Smell the socks. I don't care. Slow down.
Good.
That's good.
Josh, what would you say to these guys yelling out the bus?
You know, I've said this, and I think it's like I know when I say this, you're gonna be like, "Oh my goodness," but in our house, it's do the things you need to do before the things you want to do.
I like that.
My kids will not quit saying that.
Because it's truly a pleasure is something that will always be there.
Yep.
It will always be there because it's always trying to put itself in front of you because it's a distraction.
Yep.
And so as long as you stay focused on the things you need to do, when you see something, you want something, don't lose track. Don't lose focus on that. And the pleasures are going to be there all the time. You enjoy a little bit of them. Like you're saying, a little bit of it. You can enjoy a little bit of them all the time. Everything's got to be in moderation, but stay focused on what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Good. My advice would simply be this. Get out a piece of paper, write down the things in life that you truly value, like your family, your mom, your dad, your guardian, whoever it is. The family members that you value, the friends that you value most. When I talk about value, people you cannot live without. You literally cannot live without. They are your lifeblood. And build your life around them, not around yourself. And everything will work out just fine. But for me, it's, I would say value. All right. Well, that's good. David, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Josh, thank you very much.
Being late.
All right. Yeah, he brought it up. I didn't. Hey, we'll see you next time. We're going to do this again, and we're going to talk about some other different issues as it comes up. But, hey, thanks for joining us on Three Guys. We'll see you next time on The Grit.
Thanks.